I watched the film about an hour ago. I mean, I didn't actually know anything about it, so which I think was a really nice way to sort of go into it. And my daughter was sat in front of me painting, and she wanted to talk to, she wasn't watching the film, she was behind the screen.
Okay.
Let's clarify
Okay.
that. And she wanted to talk to me. I had big headphones on, I could hear her, and I couldn't talk to her because it affected me so much. And I think I know the film's been out on Netflix for a little while, but what's the sort of what have people said to you that have seen it? What's the reaction been to the film so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'll jump in and just say people have all had an incredibly strong, varied but strong emotional gut punch, reaction, stillness, fears, a sense of allowing something to climb out of themselves that they weren't sure was even there. All of those things have come from the reactions, and the great thing about Netflix is I've seen responses from Japan and Nicaragua, Lagos, Scotland, and of course all of Europe and North America, and to have that universal language of helping people go on a journey is a great privilege.
Yeah, absolutely. And David, for you, when you first read the script, or had you read the story? What was it that you first heard about to get involved in the project?
Well, the way this came into my world, my life, the way Misan came into my world was he DM'd me, which it's just a complete miracle that we actually connected because I never check them. I'm a bit of a reluctant social media subscriber, but I was aware of him through his photographs. And we were in the red hot eye of the Black Lives Matter movement. It was during COVID, and I had been taking in his photographs and just overwhelmed by how beautifully he was capturing that moment, how laced with story his photographs already were, and in the DM to me, he revealed that he wants to make movies. He wants to start dabbling with the moving image. And that instantaneously had my attention because of what I was seeing in his photographs. So we started a dialogue before he then sent me the nature of what he was looking to make. And I have to admit, when I got a sense of the themes and the terrain he was looking to explore, that gave me pause because I was in the middle of just having lost my own father. 3 years before that, I'd lost my mum. And so I knew that my own specific and personal relationship with grief and mourning was very fresh, very present, very private. And knowing myself as an actor, I knew that in engaging with this subject matter, I wouldn't want, I should say, to separate the two because I had lived a truth that would be the only way to tell this story. And so for me, I was like, ooh, do I want to go there? Because that's what this would be demanding. And then in talking to Misan, would be what he would be demanding because he's such a emotionally intelligent and present person. So, but I'm always looking for things that scare me, and that eventually overwhelmed my reticence, which is that okay, the reasons you're resisting this are the reasons that you should do this because it's the truth of it that scares you, and so those were the elements that made me want to dive in.
Absolutely. And Misan, then what was it? Let's see if we can make David blush. What was it about David that was perfect for the role? What was the DM? What was it about David that you thought he's the guy that needs to play this role?
One of the greatest actors of our time, period. I mean, it's ridiculous that he would have time for a mere mortal like me. Absolutely, just a joke. I mean, yeah, it's just it's like talk about rolling the dice. Huh? I mean, goodness gracious. I caught a whale, and a whale that hasn't become the worst of the industry that he loves, right? And somebody who also has a very similar lived experience to myself that I wasn't afraid to be utterly myself with. And there are many conversations David and I had during the creative process of this film that weren't conversations. It could be a glance, it could be silence, it could be what was not said. But we knew that we were doing something, I believe, that maybe neither of us had done before. And I'm not talking about filmmaking. Something else was going on. And I think that led to what you were sat with your child, not able to speak moments ago.
No, it's so true. And you mentioned you just called yourself a mere mortal, but I think what struck me in this film was how a taxi driver who can have, well, it's many things struck me. He has his own story. There's all these people sat in the back of the car who have their own stories, and we all have our own stories, and none of us are mere mortals. We're all as valuable as each other. And we are so good, I think, and more so ever since social media and all these things, of hiding behind, you know, our own social media or whatever it happens to be, and how we don't really talk anymore. And all of the people sort of sat in the back seat of the cars are having their own stories. And it just thought, Dayo, to me, it felt like he was desperate to intervene somewhere, but just couldn't because of his own grief. And do you think this film was cathartic for many people? Maybe for you, David, as you were talking about your own story?
That's what we're finding. The thing that I have been most surprised about is just the amount of people who have shame around grief, talking about it, admitting to it, especially if it's protracted, especially if the person you lost, it was 3-4 years ago. There's this sort of notion, oh, you should be over it by now. Why? When did your mom die? Oh, it was 5 years ago. And there's this kind of, oh, you know, and that's just not how it works. I truly believe especially if love was a component of that relationship, I don't believe you fully heal. I think you just learn to live with the wound, and there is actually some beauty in recognizing that they were an indelible part of your story, your journey, and love means that you shouldn't be able to just move on and walk this life without a bit of a limp. In relation to that deep love that you had, I you know, like wrinkles, I think we bear the scars of this journey if it lasts long enough, and so that's the thing that I have been surprised by, but also really validates the experience, is that it's giving people the license to say, I have experienced that. I'm going through that right now. In fact, it has helped me have a little bit of hope in relation to the dark places I have been and continue to be in relation to my own grief. And you live this life long enough, this will happen. A version of this will happen because it's part of the cycle of life. And so that's, I never thought it would be as powerful a conduit for conversation and ultimately healing for folks, but that's what we're experiencing.
How long was the shoot for?
5 days. 5
days.
days.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you say you shot it during COVID as well?
No. Well, just after the worst of it, we were able to shoot, and we shot it over 5 days. Yeah, roof of the National Theatre, and then on a low loader all around South London. It's just incredible in harsh light.
So for you, Misan, how was the transition into moving picture from your photography background?
I mean, I felt like a novice, obviously, but also a sponge that could learn from pros like David and you know, our great DOP Cy Bell, and our other producer Nikki Bentham. You know, they're all very kind to me, but visually I'm I guess instinctively I have a pretty strong idea of two things: where to put the lens and when we've got emotion. And the rest, I guess, over the next 20-30 years, I will I'll pick up the rest. But I will hope to use what I already have to reach people in the meantime. You know?
Well, your debut short film has been nominated for an Oscar. Congratulations.
Shortlisted.
Shortlisted. Sorry,
Shortlisted.
shortlisted. Forgive me. Yeah, I jumped the gun.
But we'll take the prophetic
Yeah.
qualities.
I mean, if there's other films that are better than that one, then I haven't seen them yet. So, how did it feel
Thank
when
you.
you were shortlisted? Where were you, and who did you first tell? And yeah, how does it feel?
I'll be honest, I couldn't take it. So my wife and I decided to well, I decided, and my wife said, okay, fine, to put all of our phones, we put the kids to sleep, and we put all of our phones in airplane mode. And I wasn't sure the time, so I thought I could last to 10 p.m. UK time. I didn't. We put on a lovely Norwegian film called Narvik, and we lasted an hour. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. And I switched on the phone, and I didn't even see the name. I just saw congratulations, and I was like, oh my God. And then I called David, and he was wondering where I was, I'm sure, because he had known for probably an hour and a half.
Oh, it was so weird because Misan's incredibly responsive, especially knowing that this was the day that this was going to happen. And I found out, texted him, nothing, WhatsApped him, nothing, FaceTime audioed him, nothing, emailed him, nothing. I mean, I was just like, what? Where are you? And then, yeah, about an hour and a half later, I was like, oh, okay, well, we're shortlisted, Mr. Absentee celebrant. Yeah, but then I found out he was terrified to turn up his phone.
He'd gone off the grid. Well, that's fantastic.
I couldn't do it. I just couldn't do it, and only because you know this is my first rodeo, and I just think about the whole team as well, and how special it is going to be for everyone to hopefully, you know, if we can go to this, just be recognized in this way. What the future holds, we can't control, but you know, it is a great honor in this stage for the Academy to recognize this little film with I believe a huge heart in this way, and I'm just proud for you know, film is a collaborative process, and I'm thinking of every single person with both big and large role that was able to make this symphony of emotional and urgent feeling for all to take in. I'm very proud of everyone.
No, massive congratulations. It's absolutely brilliant. David, I wanted to ask you about the final scene, which I'm not going to describe because it will spoil it for people who haven't seen it. But where do you go as an actor to do that final scene outside the house?
I mean, filmmaking is a kind of a high wire act. There are so many things need to come together, and your hope on any given day is to try and capture lightning in a bottle. More days than not, you don't. But you're always having to strive for that. All I know how to do is to prepare. Experience gives you a sense of the headspace you need to be in order to even hope to be able to tell the truth. You need a director who, given the nature of that scene, is sensitive to those needs, sensitive to the level of quiet that hopefully can be engendered when tens of people are rushing around trying to combat weather and where the camera's gonna be and the lighting and the fact that there's a kid in the scene and all those things. So many things have to kind of line up, and you just don't know if it will. But as I said before, because a closeness of grief, the fact that grief can ambush you at the most surprising of moments, that's a truth I had lived. And so all I knew is that I had to remain open and available, sensitive and quiet enough, in the hope that my lived experience will marry up with this thing that I do, which is storytelling, to produce a moment of truth. That sounds so wishy-washy and airy-fairy, but it's the best way I can describe the collision between David the man, David the actor, Misan the storyteller, and the techniques we employ around filmmaking. And it was just one of those moments where thankfully many of those things aligned to add up to what feels like a moment of truth. And I struggle to watch that scene because I know what it is. I know I've had it before we shot that scene and since we shot that scene. The amazing thing is the amount of people who have now expressed their own personal proximity to that emotion. And it tends to be private for people. I think that's what's shocking about the moment in the film, is that it's not private, and so it's shocking, both to the person experiencing it and the people observing it. And I think that's a truth for us as a society, and I think that's one of the main sources of conversation, is going, gosh, I have felt that, I haven't been able to talk about it, and this film somehow gives me a license to. And so I'm just glad that I feel in that moment we managed to tell the truth.
No, you really did. The testament to my tears when I couldn't talk to my daughter was definitely that. He did it so well. Guys, it's the 22nd of December. I have to, as a final question, I have to ask, what films have you got on in your houses this Christmas? And finally, is Die Hard a Christmas film? There's only one correct answer. And sorry to change the tone slightly, but it's Christmas time.
Oh gosh. I'll go, and I'll let you have the opportunity to think, Misan. Well, during award season, one of the joys is, all these films that if you're a member of BAFTA or the Academy or any of those organizations, you get all these films to watch. Man, I have to say, dare I say that I deem this film to almost be a companion piece of The After, because of how much it bores into the human spirit and soul. Is this film Past Lives, which I saw recently. I just think that's a transcendent film.
Extraordinary.
It's so brave in its analysis of love and loss and distance and marriage and the truth or lack of truth there within. It's just a masterful piece of work. And Die Hard is a Christmas movie, because of the amount of times either the BBC or ITV played it during Christmas in my youth, so I associate it almost entirely with that period of youth.
To this day, David, quite frankly.
Oh yeah, of course.
Misan?
Yeah, Past Lives, absolute masterpiece. Can't believe it didn't get it. I think it missed out on the score on the shortlist yesterday, which blew my mind. But Nakatomi Plaza, Bruce Willis, and I pray, he's doing as well as he can with his current health issues. But the director John McTiernan's daughter Bella is an old friend of mine, and I've been obsessed with Die Hard my whole life. I don't just think it's a Christmas movie. I think it's one of the great action movies of any genre. It really is just spectacular. For me, I find Christmas difficult for reasons I won't get into. So I really enjoy The Grinch because I feel like that's me. And it's I think it's some of Jim Carrey's best work. Some of the one-liners in that are absolutely hilarious. Absolutely hilarious. And the second one I would say is Home Alone, because if you watch Home Alone, two things. The John Williams score is phenomenal, and there's a song in it called Somewhere in My Memory that is my favorite Christmas song. It's just a stunning piece of music. But there's a scene where Kevin sits down in the church and he advises the old man that he's originally scared of to go and speak to his family. He hasn't been talking to his son for a long time, and it brings me to tears to this day. You know, people think of Home Alone as in all the fighting and in the house, but that scene particularly is so tender and so beautiful and so very Christmas that I always go back to it. So
yeah, that is a fantastic answer. I watch it pretty much every year, and that transition where it goes from that scene into him protecting his, this is my house.
Yeah, with
I
the
have
music
to defend
and the
it.
music.
There's nothing better. Have you seen on Netflix the movies that made us, and
yes,
and the Home Alone story is just absolutely incredible, and how John Williams came on board. Anyway, chaps, I won't keep you any longer. Thank you so much. Massive congratulations on this film. I'm so glad that I watched it and that I got to chat to you both. And good luck, hopefully with the Oscars. I look forward to seeing where we go from here.
Thanks for making
Have
the
a lovely
time,
Christmas.
mate.
Thank you so much, guys. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys.
Hey, you guys!
Hey, you guys.
Hey, that's what they all say.
Hey, you guys.
Hey, you guys!